Okay, so you want to own a furniture factory, buy some machinery, cut some wood, ship finished pieces out to retailers, and watch the money roll in. Here is what most people picture. Skilled craftsmen shaping solid oak and walnut on a factory floor, dovetail joints fitting together perfectly, finished dining tables rolling out one after another, and a Made in USA stamp on something people are happy to pay a premium for. After all, everyone needs furniture, every single home, forever. Surely that kind of steady demand has to end up as guaranteed profit. Here's the truth. Here's what almost nobody outside the industry understands about furniture manufacturing. The wood is not actually where the fight happens. The fight happens in the gap between four numbers: what the machinery to shape it costs, what the raw material itself costs, what the labor to turn it into something sellable costs, and what it costs to move the finished piece to wherever someone's willing to pay for it. And that gap has been shrinking on domestic manufacturers for 2.5 decades straight. Before any of those other costs even enter the picture, there's the equipment sitting on the factory floor. A functioning furniture plant needs woodworking machinery for cutting, shaping, and joining, kilns and climate-controlled storage to keep lumber from warping before it's used, finishing lines for stains and varnishes, and material handling equipment to move heavy stock around a facility that can easily span tens of thousands of square feet. None of that is cheap, and unlike a retail storefront, it can't be scaled down easily. A joinery machine sized for a small custom shop doesn't suddenly produce enough volume to compete on price with a factory built for scale, which forces manufacturers into an uncomfortable choice early: stay small and sell craftsmanship at a premium, or spend heavily on capacity and try to compete on volume against companies that already have a generation's head start on doing exactly that overseas. Start with the material itself. Raw material typically eats 30 to 50% of a piece's final price, and that's before you factor in that not all wood is priced the same. Standard construction-grade lumber is one thing. The hardwoods that actually make furniture worth buying, walnut, oak, cherry, run considerably higher, with premium FSC-certified hardwood like walnut trading somewhere around $12 to $20 a board foot. Choosing sustainably sourced wood over conventional lumber alone can push material costs up another 20 to 40%, and none of these prices sit still. Global wood, steel, and foam costs have all climbed sharply in recent years, which means the cost side of every quote a furniture maker gives a retailer is a moving target from the moment ink hits the contract. Then there's the part that actually makes furniture rather than particle board with a barcode: skilled labor. A real woodworker who can run a joinery machine, hand finish a dovetail joint, or match grain across a tabletop earns somewhere between $25 and $35 an hour in the United States. And once you add the 20 to 30% that payroll taxes and benefits tack on, that skilled hour of craftsmanship costs a domestic manufacturer considerably more than the sticker wage suggests. Compare that to furniture-producing regions overseas, where equivalent labor can run under $5 an hour. And you're not looking at a small disadvantage. You're looking at a structural gap that no amount of domestic efficiency fully closes, because the other side of that gap isn't paying less for the same skill. It's paying an entirely different economy's wage for it. If you want to see how that labor gap actually plays out dollar for dollar on a single dining chair, built domestically versus imported, that's a real breakdown worth doing. So tell me in the comments if you want that video next. Now add shipping, which is where furniture punishes manufacturers in a way most other products don't, because furniture is bulky, oddly shaped, and mostly empty air once it's assembled. Ocean freight rates on the China to US furniture lane spiked past $15,000 for a single 40-foot container during the 2021 to 2022 freight crunch, and while rates moderated afterward, they've stayed structurally higher than pre-pandemic levels ever since. That's exactly the cost IKEA's flat pack strategy was built to dodge. A fully assembled desk might occupy roughly 4 times the container space of the same desk shipped disassembled with a hardware kit, which means every manufacturer that ships finished, ready-to-use furniture is quietly paying a freight penalty their flat pack competitors simply don't. And that's before counting duties. As of 2025, certain categories of Chinese-made furniture entering the U.S. carry punitive tariffs that have run as high as 55% on top of the base product cost, meaning a buyer who only budgets for the factory price can end up underestimating their real landed cost by 25 to 65% once freight, duties, and port fees are all added in. Nowhere does the collision of all these pressures show up more starkly than in North Carolina, which for most of the 20th century was genuinely the furniture capital of the world, with entire towns built around the industry and a market in High Point that still draws tens of thousands of buyers twice a year. In the year 2000, the state had more than 78,000 furniture manufacturing jobs. By August of 2025, roughly 28,000 remained, a decline of nearly 2/3 in 25 years. The trigger was the U.S.-China bilateral trade agreement signed in November of 1999, which opened the door to a flood of cheaper Asian imports faster and more forcefully than almost anyone predicted at the time. In just the decade between 1999 and 2009 alone, North Carolina's furniture industry lost more than half its jobs. Factories that had operated for generations, some through the Great Depression and both World Wars, simply couldn't outproduce a wage gap that size, no matter how skilled their craftsmen were. In 2025, the federal government tried imposing substantial new tariffs specifically aimed at reviving the industry, but manufacturers and economists on the ground were candid that tariffs alone don't rebuild what took decades to hollow out, because the supply chains, the skilled workforce pipeline, and the specialized machinery all left along with the jobs. And none of that comes back just because an import got more expensive overnight. One industry analysis projected that furniture reshoring announcements, new domestic factory investment, would actually fall by around 70% in 2025 alone. Because in a low-tech, thin-margin business like this one, capital simply doesn't want to bet $100 million on a plant when tariff policy could reverse before the concrete even sets. Drop the last time you actually bought a piece of furniture that was made in your own country, because I'm curious how common that still is, and it'll shape which region's story I dig into next. Put real numbers on what this leaves a domestic manufacturer to work with. Say a factory sells a solid wood dining table for $800 wholesale. Material alone, at 40%, is roughly $320. Skilled labor to build and finish it, factoring in the fully loaded hourly cost once benefits and payroll taxes are included, might run another $200. Add shipping, packaging, overhead, and equipment depreciation on top of that, and you're commonly left with an operating margin in the low single digits, sometimes 5 to 10% in a healthy year, before a single unexpected expense shows up. Now imagine a nearly identical table arriving from overseas at a landed cost, even after freight and duties, of $500, sold at the same $800 retail price. That overseas competitor isn't just matching your table, they're doing it with double or triple your margin, which means they can survive a bad freight quarter, a sudden tariff hike, or a slow sales season that would wipe out a domestic manufacturer's entire annual profit in a single stretch, and still come back next season ready to undercut you again. So here's the honest picture underneath the finished furniture. The table was never really the product, in the sense that decides who stays in business. The real product is a manufacturer's ability to survive the gap between a domestic wage, a volatile material cost, and a shipping and tariff structure built by companies that mastered the container before they ever mastered the craft. IKEA figured out that lesson decades ago and built a global empire on it. North Carolina's furniture makers learned the same lesson the hard way, factory by factory, town by town, over 25 years, and the towns that once ran on furniture wages are still living with what that lesson cost. If this changed how you look at the next dresser you buy, subscribe, because next time we're pulling apart another industry where the real competition was never actually about the product at all.